Samira is one of the most explosive marksmen in the entire game, so once you get going, you can snowball and hard carry any match in a true 1v9 fashion. She comes with a rather unique melee-ranged playstyle that takes a while getting used to, but in this Samira guide you get everything you need to know in less than 5 minutes. Samira's all-in potential is crazy, and therefore she thrives when played in combination with all-in supports like Blitzcrank, Nautilus or Alistar. However, because you are so reliant on snowballing with her, you will have a tough time should your support pick a more passive poke or utility champion such as Karma, Yuumi or Xerath. I cannot stress enough how important good support synergies are when you want to play Samira. When you have good synergy, the enemy bot lane will be forced to respect your engage potential to the point where they almost cannot lane anymore. With poor synergy, on the other hand, Samira simply gets picked apart. The main reason for this dichotomy is Samira's passive. You can confidently ignore this messy wall of text if you simply remember the following. First and foremost, Samira gets bonus movement speed for alternating between auto attacks and her spells while hitting enemy champions, stacking up to 6 times. Additionally, and most importantly, Samira can right-click a champion when they get hit by your allies' engage spells, causing you to dash towards them and start attacking right away. This means you can use your dashes and passive movement speed to easily follow up on your support's crowd control, and once you get into melee range, Samira uses her sword for attacking, which deals bonus damage to your enemy. Now it should be quite obvious why Samira loves playing with tank supports who can lock the enemy down with their hard crowd control. When your support doesn't have this engage potential, all you can do is farm from range and play it safe. Samira has below average attack range, which means farming your minions is quite punishable, but this is where your Q comes into play. This ability has almost twice the range of your auto attack, so sitting back while last hitting minions from a distance is actually a very safe strategy. And just like with your auto attack, Samira uses her sword when casting Q in melee range, which means the enemy will never be able to dodge this spell when fighting at close quarters while also taking your sword's additional bonus damage. Samira's W is mainly a utility spell with a rather long cooldown. You should always decide before a fight starts whether there is a high-impact enemy projectile you need to counter and for which you should preserve Samira's W specifically. Nullifying an opposing Ashe ultimate or even just a Morgana Q can be real game changers. When you don't need to counter an enemy projectile, you can combine Samira's W with her E to instantly get 3 stacks on your passive. By connecting with E in between the 2 W hits, each hit will count as a fresh attack again, which is why this combo works. But mainly Samira's E is used as a gap closer to instantly get into melee range after following up on your allies' crowd control with your passive. The attack speed steroid on this spell allows you to deal even more damage with your sword, and the resets after a takedown enable you to instantly dash to the next opponent and clean up during teamfights. Samira's ultimate can only be cast when your passive movement speed is fully stacked, but this shouldn't be an issue when you properly alternate between spells and autos, and is especially easy to do when you can afford to use W offensively with the aforementioned WE combo. You deal massive damage to all nearby enemies with Samira's ultimate, and since you can still dash around with your E while casting this spell, it is the perfect teamfight finisher. Just keep in mind that opposing crowd control will interrupt your ultimate, so make sure you don't commit too early when the enemy still has access to all their cooldowns. While Samira's playstyle is very explosive, it is also inherently risky because you cannot simply kite from range. The enemy will start focusing you as soon as you dash forward, and in order to mitigate their damage, you go for Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Bloodline, and Coup de Grace, with Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter secondary. Your shards are Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and the matchup-dependent Resistance shard. You literally take as many healing runes as possible, and they all work great on Samira. Conqueror is viable on any ability-based marksman, and Samira can unlock the healing very quickly and reliably, since she will stack this keystone almost effortlessly while stacking her passive. Triumph is great to keep going after every dash reset, and while you might assume that Legend Bloodline would not be very efficient on an ability-based champion, Samira's Q and her ultimate both in fact apply lifesteal. Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter should be rather self-explanatory, the former providing solid healing in lane and the latter consistent sustain in late-game teamfights. The concept of countering enemy damage by drain tanking through it can also be seen in Samira's item build. You always click the subscribe button, rush Immortal Shield Bow, and further increase your lifesteal's effective value with defensive boots. Now you probably know that typical AD casters tend to build armor penetration instead of critical strike to get the most out of their spell rotations. Samira is a little bit different, however, because your 2 most important damage spells, Q and R, can in fact critically strike your opponents just like basic attacks. Therefore, crit builds are optimal on this champion, but with your next item collector, you simply go for both. This item is very good for snowballing, giving you the highest damage increase against squishy targets, which means you will get your dash resets very consistently. And yes, Armor Pen is nice, but because of your amazing crit scalings, Infinity Edge will always be your optimal third item, amplifying your numbers even more. Now you only have 2 item slots left, and they should pretty much always be filled with Bloodthirster and Lord Dominic's Regards. Which one to get first depends on your situation. Bloodthirster helps you survive, so if you die in teamfights before you get your combo off, prioritize this item. In theory, Samira's game plan is rather straightforward, but if you want some practical examples of how to actually combo with this champion, you can learn from the best Samira players in the world by clicking the link on your screen right there.